I don't remember, Marin, do I need to like close this so that it doesn't do the weird loop? Or can I just mute it once I get the YouTube going? Do you remember?
Just close YouTube once you get it live streamed.
Cool.
All right. A couple minutes after the hour, it's so nice to see some familiar faces and some new faces. If you're able to turn your video off, that's always nice for the sake of just community and creating this circle. If you really honestly can't, we understand, but we also don't mind if you're muted and your kids are in the background or whatever. So no problem there.
Did you mean to say if you could have it on?
Oh yeah, if you could have it on. Hello, on.
It's one of those days.
Yeah, and if you're not muted and if you could mute, that would be great. Oh, there's another Margot here. That's why I thought you were on before you were on.
Oh, that's funny. Where's the other Margot from? From Texas. Hi,
Yes,
Margot.
I'm from Texas. Sorry, I had to unmute.
No, that's great. Fun to meet another Margot. There aren't that many of us.
No, there aren't. I'm excited for today. I'm looking forward to learning some things. This is my first time being involved with you guys, and I'm very excited.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Valerie, I cannot mute you. I cannot like control anything here because I'm not the host. So everybody is, yeah, thank you. And yeah, other Margot as well. And anybody else that isn't muted, please. Thank you. Yeah, we're streaming to LiveTube. I cannot talk YouTube this morning live. Oh my gosh. It's not even early here, so I don't know what excuse I have. It's not early. Maybe I'm still on Hawaii time. I'm still having moments where I'm like, what time zone am I in exactly?
Yeah, I feel you.
Okay, well, if you're new here, then you'll be new to all of this, but usually the way we start these on the new and full moon is to choose some kind of card. Usually I end up doing that. And that can set the stage just for the energy that we're creating here today and give some insight, some deeper insight into the deeper meaning behind whatever this is today. And we're talking about the visions and dreams for 2023.
And if you are brand new, just know that these are different kind of every time we do it. Today is going to be less about like teaching. You'll see what we mean by that in a minute. But if you want to go back and look at some of the past ones, there's at least a few. I mean, we have a ton of things on YouTube, but the last few of these specifically are on YouTube. And people really liked the last one we did where we looked at birth videos and kind of talked about them and had some commentary as the midwives who had attended those births. So if you're looking for that sort of thing, those also exist. Go check out after this.
Okay, so I'd love to choose a card for us. As always, take it if it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. No one cares. You can just do what you want. But if you're able to just shut your eyes or, just to create some quiet space first within yourself. Maybe taking some deep breaths. Maybe just noticing your breath for the first time today. And just calling yourself into your body here in this space where you are. Maybe your feet are on the ground. Just notice where you are in time and space. And even though we're all in our own spaces, we are connected. We are connected by time, space, and all that is. So just feeling the energy of the other women, imagining that we are sitting in a circle together, that we're not little squares on a screen, but we're actually sitting in circle together. And just feeling that energy between us all, even if you don't know anyone here, just the energy of other women all around the globe that care as deeply as you do about birth. Feeling grounded, feeling more grounded, hopefully, than a few minutes ago. You can open your eyes. And I'll choose a card from one of my favorite decks that's definitely a little bit more intricate, but I thought was perfect for today. It's the Earth Warrior deck. And I really, really love it. And funny, I had a friend leave me a message this morning, and it was a very excited message about how she got a new deck and she found this beautiful deck and she was awaiting its arrival. And she said it was this one. And I was like, how did you not know that I have that deck? And I love it. Like, I must never have said, but I was so glad she found it on her own because it really is so special. So anyways, we'll see what comes up here. Oh, cool. It's number 33. I'll read. It's a very, very beautiful deck. And it's kind of a collection of like Indigenous and Polynesian and South American just like ancestral power. So it's number 33, Intikana, Child of the Light. And I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a butterfly and just some really beautiful like moon phases there, which of course is appropriate. So I'll read the short story because the long one would be too much right now. And I don't think I've ever pulled this one. I've had this deck for years and I've never seen this one. So, okay. There is a divine light that does not cast a shadow, nor does it cast judgment, even though it reveals truth, a truth that is sometimes hard to acknowledge and requires that we change our ways. True divine light is healing. It is unifying. It brings hope and illumes the way. Other sorts of light exist on this planet that are not so pure nor so helpful. Those sorts of light may appear stunningly bright, yet in effect create separation and increase ego. You can recognize genuine divine presence, not by how dazzling it may appear at first, but by what your devotion to that divine light evokes in your heart and your world. So it's all about trusting your feeling over appearances and kind of having like the spiritual presence of the sun. There's a lot more to it, but I'll leave it at that for now. But that feels right to me, at least, is thinking about and feeling what our own unique light is, especially if we're talking about holding this vision for the year ahead, and all kind of being in that space of our own divine light and acknowledging each other in that way too. So anybody's welcome to their interpretation, but that's what I got.
Can you hold it up one more time? Or did you already put it away? I couldn't see it big. No, I still can't see it big. If you say something, then you'll be big on my screen.
Oh, well, here it is. Number 33. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're all like really beautiful. So one more time, I'll show you the deck. Alana Fairchild is the artist, and she has a lot of decks out there. But like I said, this is one of my favorite. If you ever need inspiration, this is a great deck for that. You will not be disappointed. All right. Well, thanks for receiving that. If it landed with you, great. And we are on to talking about this next little bit of time we call 2023.
What is time,
I don't know.
2023. Well, where should we start? Should we start with what's already transpired in 2023?
yeah, let's talk about our magical start to the new year and our fun trip and all that came out of that, or not all, but some that came out of that.
Cool. Well, if you didn't already know, Maren and I got to start this year with a trip to Hawaii, which was really awesome. And we hosted a retreat that we call Answering the Call to Radical Midwifery. And we had, I think, 7 or 8 women join us that weekend. And we hosted it at one of our dear students' yoga spaces, which was really, really sweet and cool to do it that way. The other 2 times have been at Maren's office, which was also really fun and wonderful, but it was different to do it obviously somewhere else, somewhere new. And, there was a really special feeling to doing it by the beautiful ocean. So, if you don't already know what that weekend looks like, we don't have to go way into detail. You could totally go read about it. We don't have dates set for our next retreat yet, but I'm sure we'll do more soon. But we talked all weekend about midwifery and what it really looks like at its most authentic core, and really dug deep with these women around their, the way that they see themselves fitting into that beautiful revolution that's happening, and discussing like the fears that come up around that, some of the logistics, that sort of thing. So it was a lot of fun and a really nice way to start the year, I think. Did you want to add anything, Maren?
Right. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I mean, it was just beautiful and magical to be in that location and in that part of the world and on that land and all of that. I think it also just brought up some really practical reminders of a lot of the issues that we hear about all of the time. So midwifery licensing coming to the forefront there, and trying to understand in these different places in the world, what's going on and how people are seeing that. And I guess I was surprised, and I always am, just that people are often more willing to conform than I think. So, I don't know what that means exactly for Hawaii. I guess in the worst moments, I think it might get a lot worse there with regulation if people don't speak up and if they don't really understand that they have choices, But on the positive side, it's a reminder of the powerful influence we have in our communities. So, does that mean we're gonna, have a protest in front of government offices? Like, no, I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about like grassroots. We need to educate women all over the world about their options. Even midwives don't quite understand sometimes the nuance between, choosing a license or not. So it wasn't new, obviously, to Margot and I to think about those topics, but it was a good reminder and maybe gave us some more energy somehow for figuring out just how to continue to address that in places where there is still a chance, like there's a slim chance that law could be better for people at the very least. So that's a long blab about that, but does have to do with envisioning this new future.
Absolutely. And like you said, there are it's helpful, I think, since we're so enclosed in our little indie birth world and we're so used to talking about these issues and what happens when women don't have easy access to the kind of care that they want, that I think when we get exposed to, how do I want to say this? I mean, I hear the same things like on interviews when people are interviewing for the indie birth midwifery school too. Like just last week, someone was like, "Oh, I can't be a midwife here. I can't do midwifery here." There's all these limiting beliefs, and so yeah, we were confronted with some of those on our trip, and it was really, I think it's super, super helpful and motivating, just to remember that, oh yeah, okay, this information, even though it's not new to us, is still really new to a lot of people in a lot of places. and they're eager to have these conversations. They're just not happening. There's no one starting them where they live. So definitely is a big project that is not done yet.
Yeah, it is not done. And if I had a penny for every email we get, and we get several a day that say the same thing, which you already have shared, Margot, which is, I live blank. Is it legal for me here? Like several times a day. So there are just hundreds of thousands of people across the world that maybe want to be midwives, and they are misunderstanding, or maybe haven't gotten to that place yet. And maybe some of you here haven't gotten to that place yet, and that's fine, because obviously there's a lot to investigate and explain. And we have all kinds of courses and podcasts, to help people take that step if they want to. And it's taking the step into, we are free beings. So if I had a theme for this year, I was thinking about it earlier, it would be freedom once again. And that has bubbled up many years in the past. But it's like people are shackling themselves in a way. Like it's already this feeling of like, well, I can't, well, I can't, well, I can't. And they say I can't. And we're here to say you absolutely can. You absolutely can, but you have to break free from your own, shackles around needing approval and needing to please everybody. And again, that's a theme I feel like really came up in Hawaii, even amongst experienced midwives, right? Like these are women that are already radical. They're already not used to being accepted. And somehow there's like just this reversion at times to like, how do I comply? How do I comply? And that would just not be the question that I would encourage anyone to ask, right? There's way more powerful questions to ask, not how can I comply? Although it's fine to start there. So that's part of why we're here. If you're at the how can I comply part, that's okay. You don't have to feel embarrassed about it, but know that there's like a huge expansive space ahead if you want to venture into it, where that ceases to be the question and it becomes, how can I do this? Like, why am I doing this? How can I best do this for my community and all of that?
And sometimes it's, taking the leap without having the answers to any of that and just knowing, I want this information. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, whether it's, a doula training or a midwifery training, which we offer both of those things. And just being like, well, I know that I want this information and I want to do something, and, not having a clear picture is okay. And so, especially since it's ever evolving, which I think we'll probably get into a little bit today, like there's so many ways that we need people showing up to do this work. I wanted to also read this quote from Charles Eisenstein, who is a friend of ours and is on the Indie Birth Sanctuary board. He sent it out in a newsletter recently, and I reposted it over on our Instagram. He said, if we always choose our personal comfort, safety, or survival over doing what we know in our heart is right, then there is no hope for our world. So I think, it's maybe debatable, but it was a powerful statement that made me, do some thinking, and thought I would share that here as well.
I love that quote. Yeah, he's so inspiring. And if you don't know his work, it's not birth related, of course. It's just life related, and seeking a higher consciousness and what he calls the new earth, which we also tend to use. And that means a world where we are free to live out what our soul's journey is, right? So again, taking that question of like, can I, to how can I step into this in a way that feels good? So the next time you hear someone say, but can I do that here? Can I be certified? Who do I need to give me permission? Just send them our way. And we will tell them about our, at the very least, our beginner's guide to radical midwifery is a great pay what you can course. So if you're here and you're new, and you're even 1% curious about what we're talking about, that's most likely worth your time and money to take that course and learn a little bit more about what we're talking about. Jason is my husband, actually, so I can type his website here, but he has a daily newsletter he does. And it's not about birth, but it's about life and in all the areas that we give up freedom and responsibility, which is pretty much every area for most people. Pretty much every area we've allowed someone else to tell us it's okay or tell us when or where. So, you know, thank you. I will pass on the compliment to him.
I did type out that quote over there. Oh, good. You saw it. I wanted to share this photo too from our retreat real quick. Just look at these lovely ladies for a moment. That was after we got to spend the 2 days together, going super deep into all of these topics and so much more. But you can see everyone is feeling lovely. And at least one of them is here on our call today.
Oh, you're sweet. Yeah, he sets up PMAs for people. And if you don't know what that is, now's probably not the time. But even if you don't know, that's on my list for 2023. And he and I were talking about that together, is him offering another webinar probably on what that is and why it's important and all of that, and getting that out there to the world more. And that'll probably be a free thing, is my guess. So stay tuned for that this year.
What else? What else has already happened? It's only been a few weeks.
I know.
We do anything else?
Well, I mean, this is more personal, but it is related to birth, that I just decided I'm going to take some months off from attending births after I have a bunch here this winter. And that is related because we need to take time off. And I was like half embarrassed in a sense to tell my students that in 15 years, I have never had a dedicated, like, I am absolutely saying no. There's always been someone that I've said yes to, and I've taken my own 6-week-old babies to births many, many times. And this is seriously the first time in 15 years that I'm not doing it for X amount of months. So that felt really good to put out to the world, you know, my own little world here. I mean, nobody really cares except maybe some women here that were looking for a midwife. But just saying, I think this year may have that theme for many of us. In fact, I was sharing that, I can't remember with who, and they were saying, oh yeah, like 2023 is like the year of not self-care, but, you know, really hearing what you need as an individual soul. And yes, we're here to serve our communities. And yes, we're serving birth, but also we need time to not do that in maybe the same ways we were. So I'm looking forward to that time. And I know it'll be spent on different stuff. So I'm not the kind that's probably going to sit around and do nothing, but it'll allow me to spend time on some other stuff, and not to mention, you know, more time with my husband and my kids. So just saying that as well, in case it helps anyone else, maybe do the same thing for yourself if you need to, because it certainly is important to have time of rest as well. So yeah, thanks for the encouragement and support. Yeah, it's so, you know, lastly, it's so humbling too, to realize it doesn't matter in a sense, right? Like, so you don't attend some births, like, that's okay, right? Women find what they need, and it doesn't have to be us. And it's not us if we have those boundaries around from this time to this time, I'm not doing that. So I don't know. That's always a nice realization too, right? Like, everybody gets what they need. We're not doing this to save anyone, and they'll find the perfect situation for them. So that was nice to remember.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, should we switch gears?
We have our one last new project I was going to talk about. You
Oh yeah,
wanna
talk about
into
that.
Okay. So yeah, we do have a new offering in 2023 that will be primarily for practicing midwives. Doesn't matter if you're brand new or you've been doing this a while, but as most of you know, we have our Indie Birth Midwifery School. That's a 20-month program. And we've just increasingly been hearing the last couple of months, especially, that even our graduates, as much as they love the program and they're getting so much out of it, if they're going on to actually practice midwifery, they're wanting even more. They're like, where's the next level? Where's the next layer? Like, we want to continue, and we want to be in a community with the other Indie Birth midwives. So I know that doesn't apply to probably a ton of people here, so I'll keep it brief. But it's going to be a program, again, for practicing midwives, probably a 6-week kind of thing where Margot and I each kind of present and teach what we're most passionate about to bring your practice to the next level. So on a practical level, and just running a business and all of that, to the more like emotional, spiritual, soul calling of this work and how it can be even more fulfilling. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with women and, essentially creating a circle similar to this, where the midwives will be supported by other like-minded people and be able to share what they need to share and to be kind of midwifed, right? Because midwives often don't have midwives, like we're just in it alone and we have friends and colleagues. But I think the goal is to kind of hold the midwives in that space where we can do that for them. So kind of midwife the midwife and allow them to like grow and expand, because if I have learned anything over the last 15 years, it's that you don't do this the same every day or every year. And if you do, I mean, I don't know, I'm not one of those people, but I'd imagine you can get really burnt out and sort of bored along the way. So our goal is to kind of like inspire and keep the midwives working in a way that feels healthy and exciting for them, because the women benefit from that as well. So we'll be sharing more about that, and there will be a wait list. And we're going to be teaching that starting in March, around the March equinox. So you'll know in plenty of time before then if that's one of you, but we're really excited. So stay tuned. It's a big, big project for this year.
Okay. Sweet. Thanks for giving that overview. I'm excited too. Feels like the right time to be doing that. And it's an exciting, I mean, it's always fun to make stuff. And it feels like it's, I was just saying to Maren this morning, I've had a couple sessions this week with a variety of people in terms of like where they're at, birth people, and also sort of birth world adjacent people, just talking about business stuff, which is kind of the angle that I'll be coming at most of the topics from. And just there's so much opportunity to strengthen midwives and birth workers in terms of how they're like actually doing the art of midwifery, right? But also how they're doing their business. And so it's really exciting to think about how much impact that could have.
Right. Like so many of our offerings, I think it's no different in that it's come out of basically a request lately, it seems, from a lot of midwives. So again, just the community aspect. And I think there will definitely be that element of deprogramming, even for those that completed our school, right? We're always trying to kind of like deprogram from the matrix and what we see and what we're told and all of that, even as, people that have been doing it a while. So that is all for now. We're going to
That's all I
shift
really
gears a little
did.
bit. We don't typically have, like a ton of interaction on these calls because usually we're kind of showing videos or something like that. But we thought we'd take this last little bit of time and turn it to you all. We're going to do a little bit of journaling. So if you're able to grab a notebook, or if you want to do it on your computer, that's great. We'll give you a minute to just kind of grab something. And if you're not in a super quiet place, perhaps you can still try. And if not, you can do it later. But we'd love to ask you just 2 questions. At least that's all I kind of have that I've come up with today to reflect on. And we'll give you some time to do that. And then we'd love to have you share whatever you'd like, the last, whatever it ends up being.
I just wanted to read this cute thing while people are getting their pens and papers. Angelia said, I just started school, the Indie Birth of the Preschool, and already hoping it never ends. I love hearing there will be more. That's so cute. Thanks, Angelia.
Okay, so like I said, I have just 2 questions I've written down. And let me think of how to say this. Even though they sound simple, I don't know that they really are. So you might want to take some more time later. The first is, and I'll explain it kind of after I read it. How do you want to feel in creating or participating in your birth community? So the feeling question is huge. And, we've done entire weekend workshops using Danielle Laporte's work around this idea that there are so many feelings out there. So I know this sounds silly, but you could Google, if you need to, list of feelings right now, because usually we don't have the biggest vocabulary around how we feel or how we want to feel, right? It's not just like happy, sad, angry. Like there's a lot of nuance in feelings. So if that resonates, and if you're able, just kind of pull up a giant list of feelings somewhere on the internet.
I'll paste the link to my favorite one.
Okay, perfect. And so this first part, and it's okay for it to take a little bit, is just sitting with that and picking a word, or maybe 2 or 3 words is fine, with a feeling that really resonates. And it usually hits you like in a visceral way in your body, right? So it's not like a mental thing. It's not like, oh, I like that word. Maybe it starts that way, but when you read a word that you're like, that is what I want to feel. And again, maybe you're creating a birth community, maybe there isn't one, or maybe this is the year that you want to participate. So we have to figure out how we want to feel in that, because there's so many external ways the world can influence that. And people, maybe, like end up just feeling discouraged, or like, I feel rejected in my birth community. There's a lot of that nonsense amongst women and in community, right? So how do you want to feel? Don't worry about anyone else. And how does that feel in your body? So that's the first question. And I'll give you some time to peruse those lists and choose some words. And there's no judgment. There's no wrong or right. You can't screw this up. And if you don't like your words, you go back and choose more later, whatever. So take some time. Maybe Margot can put on some music or something.
Sure thing. I don't know if anyone can hear it, but I do have some on. Olivia's asking if you can write the question in the chat.
Yeah, I'll write the question there.
Can you hear the music?
Not really. It's
Try something else then.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to the second question, and then we'll have time for some sharing if you want to. So now that you've identified how you would like to feel, how can you embody this feeling? And I'll explain. So the question is, how can you embody this feeling? And that might mean you have certain ideas that you would like to implement, like teaching a certain class. That might mean that you take a step and call up that midwife that you've been wanting to talk to and ask about apprenticing, right? So when we talk about embodying a feeling, then like what comes out of that? If you're like, that is where you're at, like you're feeling confident, for example, what can you do to kind of show the world that confidence? How can you embody that feeling? I hope that makes sense. Okay, so a few minutes for that, and then we'll have some time for sharing.
I'll put our beats back on.
Okay. Hopefully that felt like enough time. If it didn't, of course, you're welcome to continue that later. But we do have time for sharing if people would like to. There's a lot of people here. So you may share anything that you want, whether it's your words, your feeling words, or the way you actually want to implement those feelings into your work this year. Any or all, or none, whatever. You can unmute as well. We'd love to hear some voices.
I could go. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, you can.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Khadijah. So I was thinking, what do I want to feel? And I came up with 4 words. Wonder, delight. I want to feel useful and empowered. And I really appreciated the next question because it was like, oh yeah, like, let's put it into action. And so with wonder, I was thinking of, bringing in some practices and rituals in what I offer to sort of like recognize the wonder in it and sort of not lose touch with that magic. And also, let's see what else I wrote. When I thought about like being useful and empowered, I thought about like setting boundaries and making connections with my community, but also like making decisions and offerings based off of what I want to offer. What outcomes I feel like I can, provide or support people with versus like, this is what, they say we can do or, whatever the case is, and just like, get outside of that box more and feel like we're not, I feel like there's a lot of like the disempowering right now. Like, oh, well, I wanted this, but I can't, they said I can't have that. So, just kind of taking back that autonomy myself, and then also like inviting clients, to do the same.
Thank you. That's really inspiring.
Yeah.
It's so amazing how if we can just get more clear on ourselves, how it's so easy to translate that into then what we will put into the world, right? It's so easy on some level. We're not looking for the world to inform us, but we're informing what we want to see. And in your community, that's so powerful. And, you may be the only person in your community even thinking about it that way. Anybody else?
Jimmy has a hand raised.
Yeah, I actually was pretty I don't know the word I'm looking for. I guess taken aback by the fact that my words were very similar to Khadijah's, feeling useful, respected, a sense of belonging, empowered, a resource for encouragement and to feel encouraged, but also having curiosity and fulfillment. And I was on a call yesterday with a community doula, and she was talking about how if you want to have a non-judgmental attitude toward other people and toward birth experiences, curiosity is where that comes from. And that's how you can also keep from feeling attacked and feeling uninspired and like your power taken away from you, is by coming at it with a sense of curiosity and wanting to unite people. So it kind of goes also into, how I want to embody it is by approaching the birth community with curiosity, so that I'm not judging people who want the medicalized version or want the interventions or, whatever the case may be.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome to go for it, Olivia, if you want.
Hi, everybody. I am not a midwife or doula. I'm just a first-time mom who's about to have her first baby in the next month, and I'm feeling so empowered by this community. And that's similar to y'all, like the word empowerment. I feel like during this pregnancy, so many obstacles have come up around feeling like I don't have a choice or I have to just do what other people say. And towards the end of this pregnancy, I've been able to really go into a place where I can make my own decisions and I can trust myself and I can feel empowered in this birth, even if the birthing center says XYZ and I'm not eligible for care. I can choose to have a home birth because I sought out and I found this midwife who trusts me and who sees that I trust myself. And so along with empowerment, also like feeling resourced and not in this like place of lack. My husband and I are both like not working right now. He lost his job when I was 6 months pregnant. And so I think we've had a lot of feelings around lack and scarcity when in truth, like we have so much abundance and we have the ability to pay for this home birth if we want to do that. So there really is no obstacle at this point. It's all just like inner strength and empowerment and trust and knowing that we're resourced and supported. So those are the words that came to me, and I'm really grateful for you guys. So thank you.
Congratulations. We can't wait to hear your story. That's really inspiring. And of course, lends itself to the obvious thing in a way, which is you can utilize this exercise for any part of your life or just your life in general, right? We're focusing on birth today, but that's a great example of, sort of taking control of the situation in the ways we can. I don't think any of us would say we control birth ultimately, but how we want to feel in it is something that I think we do. So thank you, Olivia. I see Valerie's hand. I see Victoria's hand. Go for it, ladies. Someone.
I'll go. I was just sparked. I have a bunch of good words here, but the curiosity is a huge one. My nature and my length of time and amount of kids and people who come to me, I'm used to fixing things. I have the answer. I can figure things out pretty well. And so that can be a downfall when somebody comes to me and they have, any number of wide variety of issues. And in my mind, it's like, it's ticking. But to stand back and say, this is their journey, and it's way more than maybe changing their diet. Like some of these things are so deeply rooted in the clients that I'm seeing that you can't just fix it. And to be more curious that we are sidled with somebody for a period of time to kind of guide them on their journey, like not taking that on and offering what you can. So the curiosity, like that's a huge one. And another one, I don't remember the last lady who was speaking, but about having abundance and not thinking on the lack side. I wrote down a whole bunch of things like, how can I embody the feelings? Like paying it forward. I think just knowing that we have abundance and then paying forward what we can. And on my list, there's like 8 things not to burn out because we get fed from this, but a whole bunch of things to offer for free. And then there's some paid stuff and it all balances out. So I think living in abundance and paying it forward to help the people in our community brings all the other words that I have on my list. So I just wanted to share that.
That's so beautiful. I love you, Valerie. I love that. It's very inspiring and such a good reminder there too, right? Like giving is part of receiving, and whatever we want to see in the world, we need to embody. Victoria, you want to be one of the final shares here? I see your hand is up still.
Hi, thank you, Maren. Thank you, Indie Birth community. I just wanted to say, I don't know how inspiring this word is, but it just was like, yes, this is the word, and it's neutrality or neutral. And I know that feels so like, what? Like in birth to be neutral. And this has been a word that keeps coming up with a mentor I kind of work with, Amy Belair, and she's been talking about it a lot, just like how sometimes being neutral allows you to be in this human plane and be in this human body, and not be responding to your triggers, because I feel like birth is like so triggering for so many people in so many capacities, depending on what their choices are, the way they choose to birth, or how they choose to birth, or who they choose to birth with, or what they're feeling, or blah blah blah. And so in my community, I'd really love to stay neutral. That doesn't mean I'm looking to attract people that necessarily aren't in alignment with what feels right for me, energetically, but it means like staying neutral to the human experience and knowing that we all are here on this plane, in different capacities, to experience it in our own time and in our own way, and to just sort of that's the feeling. The neutrality piece is really what came through, and embodying that for me means really digging deep and has and not being judgmental and negative towards choices that other people might choose to have. And when I'm opening up spaces for women to gather and share their experiences, it's not just to an exclusive group that we're autonomous and sovereign and free and birthed at home. It's keeping a space for some neutrality for women to share. It's not to have a space of anger and judgment and, the horror stories that women do share sometimes in those spaces too, but it's just really centering my own self, and embodying a type of listening and loving that hopefully transcends into birth in a different way, versus sometimes just giving out all the tools or all the information. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just what resonated for me. Thank you.
Yes, perfect. Makes perfect sense. And thank you for sharing. Thanks all for participating in that in whatever ways you did. I hope you found it useful. And I think it's really inspiring just to even see you all contemplating this and weighing this and feeling this, even though we didn't hear from everybody. It feels like you were all very engaged, and the unique way that we all have things to offer is just so beautiful. So no matter where you're at geographically, no matter where you're at on this journey, whether it's pregnancy or midwifery or whatever it is, yeah, bring it 2023. Being clear on that, I have found is so helpful, rather than, goal setting. Sure, go for it if that's your thing, but it's so much more powerful to embody whatever it is you want, because that is a gift I think we are given as humans here. So rather than going after something, be the something, be whatever it is you're desiring. And we'd love to hear more over on our social. If you're not a part of that, we will link you here. It's a free platform, Indie Birth only. If you want to post more there with some of these shares, that would be great. And or just join if you're not, because it's a really great community to ask questions in general. Our next Zoom meeting, let's see, will be in February. It's the full moon, February 6th, which is a Monday. It'll be the same time as this. And we will be talking about miscarriage and loss, which is a very large topic. So you will see reminders. You don't have to remember that, but just FYI. Anything else, Margot, before we go?
I'm just gonna post over on the social in like the home space, so anyone and everyone who's on the social will be able to see it. just an invitation to share your feeling words if you want to there, and any of the other reflections you jotted down. I think it would be cool to see those all in one spot, and then people could comment on each other's as well if they find connections in that way. Cool, I'll do that as soon as we hang up. And for people who are maybe on YouTube, did you, maybe you already said it, but social.indiebirth.org is the link to go get on our Mighty Network platform. We have, I think, approaching 5,000 people on it at this point.
Perfect. Yeah, that's the perfect place to go, especially if you're new. And, you know, you can find so many more resources from us there, whether it's podcasts or courses or whatever. But we thank you all for being here, for starting this new year off with us. And we'll see you all here early February. So have a great rest of your day and happy new moon.
And I'm
Thank
also
you. I
quickly
love you
thank
guys. Thank you for this platform. I just wanted to say that. Really appreciate it. Gratitude.
You're so welcome. I also just popped the link for 13 Moons over in the chat for anyone who's here and is pregnant. If you're not already part of 13 Moons, you definitely should be. And it's a pay what you can. indiebirth.org/13 Moons.
All right. Bye, everybody. See you soon.